On this week's show, we get into the spirit of Halloween a little bit early. Nick and I are going to talk about our earliest memories with a horror movie and how that pretty much messed us up for life. Next, we get into our top 5 horror movie franchises, and then just to end off the show, we're going to talk a little bit about it. Talk about some of our favorite horror movies. Let's see how that poll turned out versus what we would have gone with. All this right now on the F Word Podcast.
With you.
I thought yours was you.
Hello, everyone. It's the F Word Podcast.
Is that a little Seinfeld?
Just
Hello.
Hello.
Da, da, da.
What is going on, guys? As I said, it's the F Word Podcast. I'm G, and with me is Nick this time.
Hey, what's happening?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Oh, good. Sorry I missed the,
Last one?
Yeah.
I think the last one a little bit.
No.
Me and Anthony have been going on a tear together.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you came along for the ride.
Absolutely.
And this ride is a ride that you and I are not a big fan of, and that's horror.
Yeah.
So
I've been mentally preparing for this episode for a couple of weeks now. So
yeah.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's gonna be an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing we're doing this first thing in the morning too, because if it was at nighttime,
I'd be scared. You know what?
Bunk beds.
Yeah, bunk beds. So much more room for activities.
So much more room. So, horror. I want you to
just
tell
call me what?
I didn't call you anything.
Okay.
I said horror, scary movies, anything that will just lose your inhibitions and your mind and just scare you and keep you up at night. What is your first experience with a horror movie? What movie was it, and how old were you?
The first horror movie I saw that I remember specifically, like, okay, this is my first horror movie, was Friday the 13th.
Oh.
Yeah. And we were over at a friend's house. It was for his birthday, and his birthday was around Halloween, so that's why we watched those.
It's on TV all the time.
It's on TV all the time, whatever. But it was like back then we had the VHS tape of it, and we watched it. And I remember thinking, okay, keep it cool, because you're in front of your friends. You don't want to look like the total pansy, whatever. So in my mind, I'm like, these are just actors. They're probably joking around about this all the time. Like, that's all I kept thinking.
This is fake. This is fake. This is fake. This is fake.
Yeah. But that's what it was. I was, totally losing my mind at one point. But I kept it cool in front of the others. But I'm like, going home, I'm like sleeping with the light on. I'm totally.
That whole thing. Yeah. And I mean,
looking back now, you're like, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, but still, it's a guy in a hockey mask and a machete.
Yeah.
That comes out of the water.
Exactly.
And supposedly can't die.
Yeah.
That's not something I'd want to mess around with either.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good one. That is a really good, and that's one of our that's one of the staple horror ones we've got.
Totally.
For sure, Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street, and specifically Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street are like the pinnacle in terms of horror movies.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street was a big one. I saw that one early, but none earlier than the original Exorcist.
Wow.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen it.
Really?
No plans to, no desire to, no. Although that would be a funny episode, just watching my reactions.
You watching The Exorcist, man. I think I was like 8 years old.
You don't remember? You've blocked it out.
No, I was trying to. No, I was like 8, maybe 9 years old. It was 3:30 in the morning, and like an idiot, because I couldn't sleep for some reason. So like an idiot.
So this will help.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll go to the living room.
Yeah.
Let's turn this TV on. It's because, it's pitch dark, so I'm going to turn something on to help break that darkness.
Yeah.
And what I broke that darkness with was The Exorcist.
Which is ultra dark.
And so I was like, this is interesting. And it was like right from the beginning. So in the beginning, it was like, okay, mom and her daughter, something's going on or whatever. And man, I don't know what happened. It was like the devil himself showed up and being like, no, I'm holding your hands down. You're not changing this. And you're sitting and watching the whole thing.
Oh, man.
Like, I felt like McDowell in Clockwork Orange, just my eyes open, just like, like just watching this thing. And I think it took me about 2 weeks to get back to some type of a normal.
Wow.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
When she does the spider walk, when she's in bed and like flipping back and forth like
Yeah.
that. And then like I watched all the behind the scenes stuff because I know they had a special like later on in life, right?
Yeah.
And you know, he was pulling her on a string, and like when Linda Blair is yelling, like her character is yelling, "Please stop." That's actually Linda Blair telling the director to stop because he's like pulling her.
Oh my goodness.
With the string. It was like one of the craziest behind the scene movies.
Yeah.
I have heard of in like out of all of them that I've heard of. Scarface was a little bit messed up, death threats and stuff like that. No, that one was like, it's like the director was possessed, the set was possessed, everything was messed up.
Yeah, it's one of those iconic movies where you don't even have to see the whole movie because people talk about or you see clips of like certain scenes from it and you're like, oh my God. So just based on that, I'm like, nope, no, I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah. So in terms of scares, though, so the Friday the 13th scared you, obviously because there's a guy that could be roaming around, you know, whatever. Nightmare on Elm Street, you've seen?
Nightmare on Elm Street, I've seen all of them.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, I was, like, again, here's my age thing, but there used to be on Friday nights, there was actually like a half-hour show. There was like a Freddy Krueger, like Nightmare on Elm Street, there was like a show, like I don't want to say a sitcom, but like a weekly episodic show. And it was like all about, you know, what happens in people's dreams and like how he comes into them and da-da-da. So it was actually its own series for a bit too. I don't know if anybody could back me up here. I'm going on, like, I remember as younger and I thought, this is how I've made it in terms of like, I could watch horror shows. Like, and so I remember seeing all the Friday the 13th movies, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And then Nightmare on Elm Street had its own, half hour, 1 hour show.
Yeah, between those two, that's a tough one because
the hands with the
and the thing is with the hands is that like he comes in your dreams.
Yeah.
So you're asleep when this happens. Like that's the brilliance of it, right? With Friday the 13th, it's this being that's just an unstoppable force.
Yeah.
That is just going to show up, hockey mask and all, machete. What is up?
Yeah.
Right in the throat.
Yeah.
Because he has just hates everybody because he had a rough childhood.
So angry.
Like, so angry.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. When it comes to stuff with the devil, that's the stuff when I'm like, okay.
Anything religious scares the ever-loving you-know-what out of me. I can't do it. Like, I won't watch it.
And it just, again, it just messes with you. The spider walk. When she did that spider walk.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I get the heebie-jeebies looking at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
Because it's like the top of the stairs and just the way they shot that and the way she did it, and it was so fast and her jetting down, it's like,
wow.
What the hell? Like, that just... We were talking about It. We did our review for It, and we were talking about how he does this rushing move where he just starts like shaking around and going, like, and it's scary too.
Yeah.
That was like the original version of it. And like as she's coming down the stairs, like I could just feel I'm getting colder and colder and colder, and then it hit.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I watched all the other Exorcist franchise movies and was not nearly as scary, but did not help.
Wow.
Did not help. And you're not a fan of horror, are you?
No, I'm not. Like, it's not something where, like, you know, there's some people who get excited when a new horror movie comes out, like, you know, those creepy ones with the kids and all that. I'm like, no, see ya. I don't need to see it.
The creepy ones with the kids.
Oh, what was the one? That
Children of the Corn?
No, well, there's that one too, but there's one that came out more recently. I forget the name of it.
It wasn't It, though, was it?
No, it was like one of the ones creepy where like the kid is like it's a ghost or you know whatever. Like it just or like the one where it's an orphan and like it's like it just a creepy orphan kid that they adopted and like it's crazy.
Yeah,
and forget the name of it. And I'm sorry.
It's I think Vera Farmiga's in that one. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
The one movie I remember where I was like, okay, and I normally don't go to like horror movies, but Event Horizon was a movie back in the 90s. I think it was late 90s.
Okay, what is that about? Because you mentioned it before. Never seen it before.
It's basically these guys on a spaceship, like from what I remember, and like they find a portal to hell, basically.
Perfect. That's what you want.
Right. So here I am. I'm like thinking, okay, it's just a scary movie in space, right? Like, and me, like I said, with the religious type movies and all that kind. I don't know what it was. To this day, my friends are like, dude, it wasn't that bad. But like for some reason, it like every time I think of like horror movies, I think of that, and every time I think of the title of it, I'm like, like just not cool at all.
Just don't go into space.
Just don't go. Well, there goes my life as an astronaut. I was trying out for NASA.
One test away.
I would have made it, and then no. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now to add on to this fear of everything, we're going to go and run through for our little commercial break. It's a new little thing, little commercial break. We're going to do our top 5 horror franchises as voted from you. I think we had close to about 100 for this one.
Yeah.
For this poll. We also put it out late, whatever.
Yeah. Blame that on the boss.
Blame it on the boss
Yeah.
if you want. But we're going to do our top 5 horror right now. Hey everybody, now it's time for our top 5, and this week we decided to do our top 5 horror franchises. Why so early in October? Well, it's because this will give you a chance to check out all the horror movies that will be out on TV. You'll catch them probably on AMC, wherever it is. You can find them on Netflix. So if you haven't seen any of these movies, highly recommend checking these out. So we're going to go through the top 5 right now. Based on the poll, from your picks, okay, we had close to about 100 people go for this one, so not as many horror fans, but at 23.81% we had Saw, which is a little bit interesting because that's kind of bridging the gap between that torture porn and the horror. Then we've got Friday the 13th at 21.43%, Halloween, Michael Myers, with 16.67%. We got Nightmare on Elm Street at 14.29%, and The Conjuring at 9.2%. So pretty spare. I mean, Saw and Friday the 13th, relatively close. How does that fare up against our list? Ours is a little bit different. We had Halloween at number 1. We had Saw at number 2. We had Exorcist at number 3. Friday the 13th at number 4. And number 5 was Nightmare on Elm Street. And that was decided, as always, between myself, Anthony, and Nick. So if you've got your top 5 and you haven't gone on the poll, check out our other polls coming out, and also comment below. Let us know what your favorite horror movies are. Maybe also tell us what your favorite horror movie was growing up. Also, let us know in the comments below what the first horror movie you ever saw and what age. We'd be really curious to know. Anyways, that was our top 5. Enjoy the rest of the show. So interesting top 5. Mm-hmm. Ours was a little bit different. So they had Saw as number 1. Ours was number 2, I think, between you, me, and Anthony.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th was number 3.
Yeah.
And so, and then Friday the 13th was number 2, and then Halloween, Nightmare, and then they actually had The Conjuring, which we haven't talked about The Conjuring. That one's a little bit messed up. Again, I'm not a huge horror guy, but it's kind of like, I'll eventually watch it. I'm still one of those guys where, aside from it, because it wasn't that scary. Mm-hmm. Like, it was scary, but it wasn't that scary. It was more unsettling than anything. Yeah. But The Conjuring, I've seen trailers. I've seen a couple clips here and there. Yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, ours was Halloween, Saw, Exorcist, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Saw being number 1. That's a little bit interesting because one could contend that Saw is in the realm of the torture porn side of things as opposed to it being a legitimate like horror, but there is still that horror of somebody taking control of your life and you have to survive. Like it crosses so many genres, so it'll probably be on other lists that we have.
Yeah, I think what it is it makes you look at yourself as a person on the inside and be like, if I was in that situation, would I do that as well? And that's what I think scares a lot of people, is like how much evil we could possibly we might have in us depending on that situation. Would we be the one that just kind of like, I don't care, I will like let you die and let your head blow off just so I can save mine? You know, it's kind of one of those things. Will I cut my leg off to get out? You know, like.
Well, the moral is always like work together and or be a better person and all that stuff. It's just kind of intertwined in this twisted, weird kind of thing. And then Saw also falls into Hostel, which we didn't put because that one is all like legitimately straight up torture porn. Yeah. But there is that, you were telling me that Hostel came out while you were traveling and you were staying in a hostel. In a hostel. So F that, you're not going for it.
Perfect tourism video for you to check out. Yeah, like for me, it's situational, right? Yeah. That has a lot to do with how you feel about a movie too. Uh-huh. So back when it came out, I remember I was going to doing a thing in Europe. Yeah. So we were going to Germany, Czech Republic, Italy, France. And so we were staying in hostels to save money. What comes out like a month before? The movie Hostel. So of course, in my infinite wisdom, I'm like, oh, I'll go check it out, right? Or I'll see it. Big mistake. I didn't trust anybody when I went, like, anywhere. I was like, who are you? Why are you going to, like, I think you're going to cut my kidneys out. That's what I think.
Well,
or you're
not
going to
even
hang
just
me
cut
upside down and like,
someone's going to use your body for their own to like just torture the hell out of you because they want to fulfill some kind of sick, twisted fantasy.
Yeah.
That was the thing with Hostel, where that one's more like that's the pinnacle of torture porn, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's some other movies, but like when you think of it now, and I had a friend of mine who he lives a few hours away. He ended up doing a full tour in Europe as well, and like he ended up living all over the place. He ended up going I think he ended up going to India and then Russia and so on and so forth. But he was staying in these hostels and bed and breakfast, and all I can think of is just like, please, I hope he comes back because that's the it's still. The word hostel immediately takes me back to that movie. Yeah. And I'm like, don't trust it.
Someone's
gonna find a hotel.
Gonna kill you.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Totally, yeah.
Another one that didn't really make the cut. Let's talk about those ones. So Scream never made the cut.
Yeah,
and that's
Scream
a staple.
wasn't scary though.
In the beginning it was. Like that whole retribution thing, like the whole because that's the I know I know what you did.
No, that's I know what you did last summer.
That's I know what you did last summer. But that person
came out
back,
about the same time.
The whole mask, the scythe, and everything like that. That's a staple in terms of horror, right? And they were. I always liked them. Final Destination was another one we had on the list. Didn't make the cut.
Never saw those ones. Never saw
those
any
ones.
Of those.
Those ones are messed up because it puts you in the mindset that at any point in time I'm going to die no matter what because that's the path my life is going to take. Yeah. So ever since the first or second one, there was one that involved
the roller coaster.
Not the roller coaster. Okay. No, it involved a massive truck on the road on the highway, and all
first one.
That was the first one. Yeah. So the lumber flying off and everything like that. Ever since then, I cannot drive anywhere without putting myself into a situational thing. Like if this car flips over, if this truck does this, I mean, it's made me a more defensive driver, which you're welcome, everybody on the road around me. But
maybe everybody needs to see it.
Maybe. But it puts you in that mindset of wow, these people are on this path. And then obviously, in my mind, it's not true. It's not like, oh yeah, we're all destined. You're going to die at this date and this and whatever. It could happen. Some people believe it. If you believe it, comment below, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Do you believe that? I mean, not having seen the movies, but the concept of what the movie's trying to show where it's, you can be on the highway and no matter what happens, 3 different scenarios, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm more of the mentality of you put yourself in a situation where you're gonna have a better chance of nobody wants to think about their mortality, but you put yourself in a situation, an everyday situation where there's a chance that something will happen to you. Now, if you want to keep focusing on that, I think eventually it'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's I'm gonna drive on the highway and I'm going behind the truck and the truck might swerve and now you're freaking out and it's gonna happen. But no,
that was deep. That was very deep.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a lot of people just. Yeah, I don't tend to think about it too much, but yeah.
One that never made the list at all with absolutely 0 votes was Child's Play, which was the Chucky one. Yeah. See, and that one was always scared of me.
Really?
I don't like dolls.
It's a creepy doll.
That's the thing, though. I don't like dolls. And it comes from the dead. And it was and then he has a bride. Then there's 2 of them.
But he's so funny in the movies.
And I think that's why it was scary. Easier to watch, right? Yeah. It's almost the same thing like I was talking about It, where it was scary, but there was so much humor in it that it broke it up a little bit. Yeah. Do you remember, have you seen all the Chuckies, or do you remember just seeing Child's Play and then...
I just saw a couple of them. I remember seeing 1 and 2, I think it was, but I just remember even when I saw it, and I was a little older at the time, I think I was 14 or 15 when I saw him, and I just remember thinking this guy's hilarious. He just had these little one-liners, and they were kind of violent deaths, but they were violent deaths. I'm not going to say kind of violent deaths, but the one with him and Jennifer Tilly where she was the bride of Chucky or whatever, that one was just ridiculously stupid. I just thought...
And maybe that's why. Yeah. To your point, and maybe it just got too stupid that it tainted the rest of it.
Totally. Did they not do one where they did one with Leprechaun too, where it was Child's Play and Leprechaun merged?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Leprechaun. Yeah. That was messed up too. Yeah. Was not a fan of that. Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston. I think it was before Friends or during Friends, but it was really creepy.
I think it was right before it.
Yeah. This list is there's some pretty again, the only one that I would contend would be Saw itself, and not for any other reason that it just bridges that gap of the horror and the horror and torture porn type of thing, which again are 2 different things. And I don't know how much I don't subscribe to the torture porn. I've seen the first Hostel. I've seen the Saws because when it first came out, it was actually an interesting story. Mm-hmm. But then after that, it was whatever. Actually, have you seen Hostel 2?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, your boy
Lewis Litt?
Yeah, your boy Lewis was on that one. I remember that one, and he like played this like psycho guy. I was like, he's really good.
Yeah,
I like him. Like, and then next thing you know, he's in suits and he's all this different guy altogether.
Yeah. The one scene that I remember the most, I think it was in the second one, where the guy cuts the Achilles heel.
That's the first one.
That's the first one. And he's like, "You're free to go." And the guy's like, "Oh," and then like, right?
Man, you want to talk about an opener to what this show is actually about?
Yeah.
That scene with that kid and that doctor that he was meeting and randomly running into. And like when he was talking about how his hands shake, that's why he couldn't be a surgeon. He's just sitting there like this. That was depressing as hell.
Yeah. That
was brutal. This like, and then as that one progressed, it was still brutal. The second one I found to be a little bit more campy, but what I liked about the second one is that they ended up going into the inner workings of that organization.
Yeah.
You know, how people register, how they get these people's names, so on and so forth, because they follow the two guys there. But yeah, that Achilles thing, and like that actor that played him just screaming.
Yeah. I just, that to this day, like I'll never forget that scene.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
I forgot about it.
You're welcome.
Now. Yeah.
Your day's ruined.
Jesus. So yeah, that was our top 5. It was pretty good. I would have probably put Saw just below our list. I think, like again, our list we have Exorcist at the third mark. I probably would have put Saw a little bit lower. Halloween is definitely another one we didn't really talk too much. That Michael Myers thing.
Mike Myers, yeah.
It's just so creepy.
Yeah.
That story is just so creepy. The leather face, but not even just a leather face. It's just like the concept of this family. Right, because then when they went into the origins of Halloween and they were showing the family and they're just these redneck and just it's just like creepy and horror.
Yeah.
There was another one we didn't talk to about either, was Jeepers Creepers.
I never saw that one.
I saw the one with Justin Long, and that one was also a horror one too. But there's a lot of controversy going around Jeepers Creepers, so it's not something that I would promote because the director is a big creepy guy himself.
Okay.
I think we talked about this because we're actually going to talk about, we had that, people asked us about it almost every week.
Oh.
And we're not going to talk about it now. We're not going to draw any attention to it, but Jeepers Creepers was another one that was kind of on that horror thing. But yeah, I guess this is our Halloween episode. I mean, we're doing a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But
it's okay. Gets you ready for Halloween.
Yeah,
I think it's important to be prepared.
And the other thing too is that doing this so early, these movies are going to be popping up on TV.
Yeah.
They're going to be on your Netflix. They're going to be coming up wherever. So if you haven't seen these movies, I would highly recommend watching them just because they were staples in horror. And horror has been, in the past year for sure, has been crushing it at the box office.
Yeah.
The box office. It's been crushing it. These movies are making hand over fist, and they're doing them much better than they used to, and they're releasing them at different times of the year. It comes out in the summer, and it's a box office sensation.
Yeah.
Right? And you've got, specifically there's a company called Blumhouse, and they're producing these super low budget movies that are just making massive returns. And they're actually doing them well. So
kind of like Blair Witch back in the day.
Oh man,
I never saw that one either.
The Blair Witch was another one we never talked to, but that had diminishing returns. Paranormal Activity was another one, diminishing returns. Like it kind of became really campy. The first one was a huge hit,
solid,
yeah. But yeah, if you catch these on TV, make sure you check them out. They're definitely worth a look. Just make sure you do it with the open lights if you're a squeamish individual or super scared of life. And yeah, check these out.
Yeah.
So.
Let us know what your staple Halloween one is, too. I would love to see what people have.
What is your favorite Halloween one?
Yeah.
My one buddy, Derek Davidson, if he's listening right now, his favorite is watching Inaratu.
Oh.
It's a Dracula one, right? But it's a classic. It's one of those kind of like deeper cut kind of ones. But Nick, thanks again for joining, buddy.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I am G. This was the F Word Podcast, and we are out.